Professor Krixtal adjusted her sensory stalks nervously as she watched the human delegation enter the Galactic Biology Symposium. She had spent 3 rotations preparing for this moment, ready to present her thesis on interspecies domestication patterns across known civilizations. What she hadn't expected was for the humans to bring companions. By the 7 moons of Arcturus, whispered Dr. Velish, a crystalline being from the Rigel system. Is that creature following them voluntarily? Krixtal squinted her compound eyes at the massive, 4-legged beast padding alongside Ambassador Jake Martinez. The thing had fangs. Actual, honest-to-cosmos fangs that could probably crush a Zentorian skull without much effort. Yet there it was, tongue lolling out, tail wagging like some sort of demented metronome. That, announced Martinez with obvious pride, is Max. He's a German shepherd. Best boy in the galaxy, aren't you, buddy? Max responded by barking once, a sound that sent half the assembled delegates scrambling for emergency exits. The Plovaxians literally turned transparent from fear. Fascinating, muttered Krixtal, frantically taking notes. The human appears to be praising a predator for making threatening vocalizations. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the human xenobiologist, laughed at the obvious terror rippling through the assembly hall. Oh, you think Max is scary? Wait until you meet the others. Others? Krixtal's sensory stalks went rigid. There were more of these death machines? We brought a diverse selection, Vasquez continued, completely oblivious to the mounting panic. Cats, ferrets, snakes, even a few spiders. Though we had to leave the bears at home. Transport regulations, you know. Bears. They had bears. As pets, the Maluvian delegate, a being that resembled a sentient mushroom, was hyperventilating so hard that spores were shooting out of his cap. Excuse me, he wheezed, but did you say spiders? As in, multiple-legged nightmare creatures that inject venom? Well, yeah, Martinez shrugged. Though most tarantulas are actually pretty docile. My daughter has 3. Names them after her favorite pop stars. Pop stars. They named venomous arachnids after entertainment figures. Krixtal was beginning to understand why humans had conquered half the galaxy in less than 2 centuries. Any species insane enough to cohabitate with apex predators for fun probably approached warfare with similar enthusiasm. Perhaps, she ventured carefully, you could explain the evolutionary advantage of this relationship? Vasquez brightened considerably. Oh, it's not about evolution anymore. It's about companionship. Take Max here. Sure, his ancestors hunted in packs and could take down prey 3 times their size. But look at him now. Max chose that moment to sneeze, spraying saliva across 3 rows of delegates. The Zentorian ambassador fainted. He's basically a furry child who eats everything and demands constant attention, Martinez added fondly, scratching behind Max's ears. Aren't you, boy? Yes, you are. Who's a good existential threat to galactic peace? You are. The baby talk was somehow more terrifying than the barking. Dr. Vex alone, a mantis-like being from Kepler 442b, clicked his mandibles nervously. But surely there must be incidents? Injuries? These creatures turning on their human companions? Oh, absolutely, Vasquez nodded cheerfully. Dogs bite about 4.5 million people annually on Earth alone. Cats scratch and bite whenever they feel like it, which is most of the time. Don't even get me started on what happens when someone gets too friendly with a pet python during feeding time. The assembly hall had gone so quiet you could hear a pin drop on Proxima Centauri. And yet, she continued with disturbing enthusiasm, we keep breeding them, feeding them, giving them medical care that's often better than what we provide for our own species. We build entire industries around making them comfortable. Pet hotels, gourmet food, designer clothing, squeaked Ambassador Trilla, a diminutive being that looked like a cross between a hamster and a disco ball. You dress the predators? Halloween costumes are particularly popular, Martinez grinned, pulling out his communication device. Look, here's Max dressed as a pirate last year. And here he is as a superhero. Oh, and this one's from Christmas, he's wearing reindeer antlers. The images were being broadcast to the main viewing screen. An audible gasp went up from the crowd as they witnessed photographic evidence of humans deliberately making apex predators even more aesthetically threatening. Krixtal's academic mind was reeling. Her entire thesis was crumbling faster than a sandcastle in a solar storm. Every known civilization kept domesticated herbivores or at most small omnivores for practical purposes. Food, labor, materials. But humans? Humans looked at evolution's most efficient killing machines and thought, you know what this needs? A tiny hat and a birthday party. The most remarkable part, Vasquez was saying, apparently immune to the cosmic horror she was inflicting on her audience, is how it's shaped our psychology. We've essentially rewired our brains to find deadly things adorable. Baby schema, we call it. Big eyes, small features, helpless behavior. It triggers our caregiving instincts so powerfully that we'll risk life and limb to protect creatures that could kill us without breaking a sweat. Max wagged his tail harder, somehow sensing he was the center of attention. Several delegates ducked under their tables. In fact, Martinez added with the casual tone of someone discussing the weather, we've got about 2 billion domestic cats on Earth. They're responsible for killing roughly 24 billion birds and mammals every year. But they purr when they're happy, so we forgive them. Purring. The humans were seduced by vibrations. Krixtal realized she was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. Not just a species that had befriended their predators, but one that had turned predation into entertainment. These weren't pets, they were live-in serial killers with good publicists. The symposium was about to get much more interesting. 20 minutes later, Krixtal was convinced that humans were either the bravest species in the galaxy or completely detached from reality. Probably both. Now, Dr. Vasquez announced cheerfully, let me introduce you to some of our smaller companions. She opened a specialized transport container, and Krixtal's hearts nearly stopped beating entirely. A sleek, black creature emerged with liquid grace, yellow eyes scanning the room like targeting systems. It stretched languidly, displaying claws that could probably slice through whole plating, then proceeded to ignore every living being present with magnificent disdain. This is Shadow, Vasquez said, as if she hadn't just released a miniature panther into a room full of terrified diplomats. She's a domestic cat. Felis catus. Notice the predatory instincts are completely intact. Shadow yawned, revealing fangs that belonged in a horror movie, then hopped onto the presentation table and began grooming herself with disturbing efficiency. Magnificent hunter, Martinez added proudly. Reflexes faster than most military drones, night vision that puts our best surveillance equipment to shame, and the patience to stalk prey for hours without moving a muscle. As if on cue, Shadow's head snapped toward a small movement near the Regelian delegation. Dr. Velish had made the mistake of adjusting his translator device. Now he was frozen in absolute terror as golden eyes tracked his every microscopic movement. And humans live with these assassins willingly, wheezed the Maluvian delegate, still leaking spores of distress. Live with them? Vasquez laughed. We worship them. Ancient Egyptians considered cats sacred. Built temples for them. Mummified them when they died. Even today, humans spend billions on cat entertainment, gourmet food, and medical care. But surely, Dr. Vex-Koral clicked desperately, there are safety protocols? Containment procedures? Oh no, Martinez waved dismissively. Most cats have complete run of human homes. They sleep in our beds, sit on our keyboards when we're working, knock things off tables for sport. Shadow here once brought me a dead lizard at 3 a.m. and left it on my pillow. As a gift. Gift. They interpreted corpse delivery as affection. Krixtal was frantically recalculating everything she thought she knew about predator-prey relationships. But how do you coexist safely? Well, Vasquez grinned with the expression of someone about to drop a bomb. We don't, really. Cats are responsible for the extinction of dozens of species on Earth. They're ecological disasters on legs. But look at that face. Shadow had finished grooming and was now staring directly at Krixtal with the intense focus of a creature calculating optimal attack vectors. Then, impossibly, the predator began making a rhythmic rumbling sound. She's purring. Vasquez exclaimed with delight. That means she likes you. Likes me? The creature was obviously planning her demise in excruciating detail. The sound frequency actually has therapeutic effects on humans, Martinez explained. Promotes healing, reduces stress, lowers blood pressure. We've essentially been hypnotized by our own pets. Ambassador Trilla was hyperventilating into a breathing apparatus. What about the other species you mentioned? The spiders? Ah, yes. Vasquez reached for another container. Let me introduce you to Charlotte. She's a Chilean rose hair tarantula. Grammostola rosea. Absolutely fascinating creature. The container opened, and 8 legs emerged with mechanical precision. Charlotte was roughly the size of a dinner plate, covered in what appeared to be weaponized fur, with eyes that reflected light like tiny black mirrors. Half the remaining delegates immediately activated emergency teleportation protocols. Beautiful specimen, Martinez cooed, as if discussing a flower arrangement instead of something that belonged in a nightmare. Look at that leg span. Those pedipalps. The way she moves is pure poetry. Charlotte moved like poetry written by someone who had never experienced joy, stalking across the table with predatory grace that made Shadow look cuddly by comparison. Humans actually handle these creatures? Dr. Vex-Koral's mandibles were chattering so violently he could barely speak. Oh yes, Vasquez nodded. Many tarantula owners let them crawl on their hands, arms, sometimes even their faces. It's called free handling. Though I should mention, some species have urticating hairs that cause severe irritation, and their fangs can deliver medically significant bites. And children interact with these monsters? Crixtal managed to croak. Kids love them. Martinez's eyes lit up with parental pride. My 8-year-old daughter has 3 tarantulas, 2 ball pythons, and a bearded dragon. She's saving up for a monitor lizard. Monitor lizard. They were systematically escalating the threat level. The truly remarkable thing, Vasquez continued, apparently oblivious to the existential crisis she was causing, is how this relationship has shaped human psychology. We've developed an almost supernatural ability to anthropomorphize anything that moves. We see personality in creatures that operate on pure instinct. Charlotte chose that moment to rear up on her hind legs, displaying fangs that could probably puncture Kevlar. Look at that! Martinez exclaimed with genuine joy. She's saying hello. No, Crixtal thought desperately, she's preparing to inject venom into anything stupid enough to approach her. But surely, she tried one last time, there must be some evolutionary explanation? Some benefit to this madness? Vasquez and Martinez exchanged glances and burst into laughter. Benefit? Vasquez wiped tears from her eyes. Professor, you're thinking like a rational being. Humans don't keep predators as pets because it makes sense. We do it because we think they're cute. Cute, Martinez nodded sagely. It's really that simple. We see a creature that could kill us in 12 different ways and think, ah, look at those little murder mittens. I want to snuggle it. Murder mittens. They had pet names for natural weapons. Crixtal sank into her chair, her academic worldview completely shattered. She had spent her entire career studying logical interspecies relationships based on mutual benefit, resource exchange, and survival advantages. But humans? Humans had looked at evolution's perfect killing machines and decided they needed sweaters and birthday parties. The symposium concluded and the few remaining delegates fled in various states of psychological trauma. Crixtal realized she had witnessed something unprecedented. Not just a species that had survived alongside predators, but one that had turned cohabitation with death into the ultimate expression of affection. Shadow jumped down from the table and rubbed against Crixtal's leg, purring loudly. Despite every instinct screaming danger, the professor found herself oddly charmed. Maybe humans weren't completely insane after all. Maybe they had unlocked something the rest of the galaxy had missed entirely. Maybe they were all collectively, magnificently, brilliantly mad. Either way, she was definitely changing her thesis topic.